information. So I'm going to go through a little bit about the geography, talk about some important places, also talk about the geology and the fact that Yellowstone's a supervolcano. I'll also talk about the various animals and plants in Yellowstone. So Yellowstone National Park is mostly in Wyoming, but it also occurs partly in Montana. And there's a sliver on its west side that's in Idaho. The Continental Divide runs right through Yellowstone National Park, meaning that in some parts of the park, the eastern portion and the northern portion, water flows into the Yellowstone River and eventually into the Mississippi and into the Atlantic Ocean, whereas water in the western part of the park and the south, primarily the far southwestern part of the park, flows into the Snake River and ultimately enters into the Pacific Ocean. This is a place map that you can find in the Before Yellowstone book. I encourage you to become very familiar with it. There's 5 entrances to Yellowstone. I'll just point them out here. Gardner up in the north, Cook City in the northeast, Cody in the east, Jackson Hole in the south, and West Yellowstone on the west. There's numerous developed areas in the interior of the park. I would say the biggest developed area is at Old Faithful, which is down in here. There's another large developed area at Yellowstone Lake at a place called Grand Village. Canyon has a developed area. Norris Geyser Basin. Mammoth Hot Springs is where a lot of the administrative offices are for Yellowstone. There's 4 key lakes. Yellowstone Lake is by far and away the biggest. For those of you from Western Montana, Yellowstone Lake is very, very similar in size to Flathead Lake up near Kalispell. There's numerous rivers. There's certainly no dearth of water in Yellowstone. It's plentiful and rich in water. And there's also numerous high peaks. Most of Yellowstone sits above 8,000 feet because of the volcanic Yellowstone Plateau. So the Yellowstone Caldera or the Yellowstone Plateau sits in the very heart of Yellowstone. That's this dotted line. And within that area or within the edges of that area are most of the geyser basins. This is a photograph of Mammoth Hot Springs, a very famous hot spring area in Yellowstone. Then there's the West Thumb Geyser Basin down on Yellowstone Lake. And then the Midway Geyser Basin with this the famous Grand Prismatic, and also Old Faithful is just south of there in the Upper Geyser Basin. So all the geysers, all the hot springs are fueled and get their hot temperatures from the fact that Yellowstone is part of a caldera. There is some very hot earth crust. I've done archaeology in Yellowstone, and the deeper you get in the earth, the warmer earth gets. It's kind of fun. So Yellowstone is active in volcanism, and Yellowstone is a volcano. And within the past 2 million years, episodic volcanic eruptions have occurred in the Yellowstone area, 3 of them being quite major. The caldera was created by a massive volcanic eruption approximately 640,000 years ago. Subsequent lava flows filled in much of the caldera, and it now measures about 30 by 45 miles. An eruption approximately 174,000 years ago created what is now the west thumb of Yellowstone Lake. The last actual lava flow was about 70,000 years ago. However, the periodic hydrothermal explosions associated with the volcanism, and the last one was at Indian Pond, just north of Yellowstone Lake, just a few thousand years ago. And so the volcano is still active. The park's many hydrothermal features attest to the heat still beneath this area. Earthquakes, 1,000 to 3,000 per year, and sometimes even more, also reveal activity below the ground. The University of Utah Seismograph Station tracks this activity closely. In terms of why the volcanism is important to Yellowstone's Native Americans, the volcanism forms a volcanic glass in some locations. This volcanic glass is called obsidian. It's a very sharp rock. It's actually the sharpest natural substance on planet Earth, and Yellowstone Native Americans use that to make stone tools. There's various obsidian sources. This is a map you can find in the Yellowstone book. We'll have a whole entire section of the class dedicated to the different stone sources. Most of them are obsidian. Obsidian Cliff is far and away the biggest and best of those obsidian sources. Yellowstone National Park is part of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, which measures about 22 million acres, encompassing national forests, BLM land, wilderness areas, etc. Yellowstone Park itself comprises only 2 million of those acres. Right now, let's go through some of the key areas for water, the Rockies, and plants and animals. So the key to Yellowstone is water. Like I said, Yellowstone Lake's the biggest lake. It's about 20 miles long by 15 miles wide. The Yellowstone River is the biggest river as well. It flows out of Yellowstone Lake. It flows northward through the park and eventually makes its way through Montana into the Missouri River, and then Missouri River flows into North Dakota, South Dakota, into the Mississippi. Other key rivers, there's many rivers and creeks in Yellowstone, but the Madison River, the Snake River, the Gallatin River are all important. In terms of mountains, the biggest mountain is Eagle Peak. That's in the far southeastern corner of Yellowstone. It's actually in the park. It's right on the park boundary. So this is considered to be the biggest mountain in Yellowstone, Eagle Peak at 11,372 feet. The biggest mountain in Montana is Electric Peak. That is in Yellowstone. That's Electric Peak. That's about 11,000 feet. There's 41 mountains in total over 10,000 feet. So lots of high elevation mountains in the park. In terms of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, Native American hunter-gatherers collected a wide variety of plants, including pine nuts, bitterroot, camas, lots of different types of berries. There's all kinds of different plants that can be used for medicinal and spiritual purposes. And this is a list put together by one of our University of Montana students in 2015. Her name is Kathy Beecher. So if you look at this chart, you can see all the different plants used for food and cooking, for medicinal purposes, and then for other purposes here. There's over 300 birds in Yellowstone. There's over 70 mammal species. There's 16 fish species in Yellowstone. Many of these animals and fish were hunted and gathered by Native Americans and are quite important. Among the more important that were hunted by Native Americans in Yellowstone, bear were hunted, rabbits, wolves, coyotes, bighorn sheep, deer, elk. You might see mountain goats in Yellowstone today, but those were introduced in the early 20th century. They are not native to Yellowstone, so Native American hunter-gatherers never hunted mountain goats in the park. So in terms of the animals that were important for hunting, the hooved animals were important prey species for Native Americans, as well as for other animals that are predators like cougars and bears. There's 7 key native ungulates in Yellowstone, bison being among the most important, but elk, bighorn sheep, white-tailed deer, mule deer, pronghorn antelope, and moose. Again, mountain goats are not native. And then there's multiple predators that are out there on the land as well, including wolves, grizzlies, black bears, cougars, coyotes, foxes, badgers, wolverines, and bobcats. So in terms of Yellowstone's environment, all the things that I just talked about and introduced to you, we're going to go into much more detail over the course of the semester and how Native American hunter-gatherers incorporated those different aspects of the environment into their daily lives.